Well, it's time to get a review of Vampire Weekend's Father of the Bride. And this is your turn now.
Do I just read this?
Read
or
this.
Do I introduce ourselves again for the review?
No. Just I introduce the review. And now we just go forward.
Okay.
Because we're big boys now.
All right. So, like Vincent said, today we're going to be taking a look at the latest record by Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride?
Haha. That's our first mess up in full glory. Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest record by Vampire Weekend, Father of the Bride. Vampire Weekend is a New York indie rock, baroque pop, world beat band led by the famous frontman Ezra Koenig. Vampire Weekend released their self-titled album back in 2008 with some great singles like A-Punk and Oxford Comma. If you know any Vampire Weekend song, it's probably A-Punk. In 2010, they released Contra, which I forgot existed, except for these two tracks, Cousins. And
I thought it was on the NES.
yeah, it was. Contra and Super C.
You have to have the cheat code in order to beat the game because it's near impossible.
I used to have Contra on this like Chinese bootleg system that my grandparents
The
bought me.
Soldier Boy Game Boy thing?
Yeah, it was great. Back in 2013, of course, they released Modern Vampires of the City, their last record. More of a depart from the African-influenced indie pop style of their previous efforts, and had some really awesome singles like Dying Young, Unbelievers, and of course Step, which had a remix featuring Danny Brown, Heems of
Das
Racist and Despot. And
which is
it's a really fun but
phenomenal.
unexpected remix.
It combines indie hip hop with indie rock, and it's just such a beautiful blend of styles and really underappreciated.
It truly is. It really caught me off guard when I first heard it. But their latest record, Father of the Bride, is 18 songs in a whopping 58 minutes. Yes. This is their first project since 2013. So that's 6 years, and it's their first album since their producer Rostam left. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, and everybody just calls him Rostam.
Rostam, that's what his last album was called, right? I can't remember.
Rostam?
Didn't he release a solo project with someone? I can't remember.
Rostam has worked with so many other... Rostam had like a solo album, and I think he worked with like Hamilton Lighthouser for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm not 100% sure.
But the basic Wikipedia summary of this album. Wikipedia, the greatest resource known to man. I don't know if you saw me and Jonathan's. This is a film episode, but we went through the entire Wikipedia summary of Avengers Endgame because it's the truest form of that film. But Wikipedia summary of this album is the album is musically diverse and heavily referential, contrasting dark and direct lyrics over bright springtime musical mood with a stronger American influence than on the group's previous work, which it's more, I think in the sense it's more just pop, it's sweet tooth pop, and it has less of just, I guess, more of an indie vibe than before. I guess less of that. It's more of just kind of just regular American pop, because you get moments like Flower Moon and We Belong Together that just feel like super kind of flat, sweet tooth, kind of heartless pop music. And going over this whole entire album, I was really excited for this because all the singles we got I really enjoyed, and I thought they worked well in the pairs that they were delivered. Like usually it was like one full song and then one like micro song that's only like a minute and a half. Mm-hmm. But all the singles I got were really good, and it was some of the band's best material. Like it not only was it some of the band's best material to date, but it's also I don't know, very surprising. I think it was just more really consistent, and I was surprised that they were able to hit such a heavy punch straight out of the gate, out of being gone for so long. But listening to this album, I think it just runs out of ideas. Like around track 9, it just runs out of ideas, and it uses their features way too much. Steve Lacy's on 2 tracks,
back to back too.
He should only been on 1. Danielle Haim, I'm sorry, I don't know why I want to call her Ham. Probably because
it looks like ham, but it has an I in it.
But she's spread across this entire record. She's featured on a couple tracks, but she has guest vocals on a lot of these tracks, and she's not bad, because I've listened to Haim's music and I know she's not bad, but in this context I think she's just really annoying because she's just constantly brought up, and I just kind of want her to go away because I wanted to hear a Vampire Weekend album, not a Haim record. It's like how they use these collaborators across this record kind of gives me a Gorillaz Like Humans vibe, where it's just trying to stretch so many ideas, And
Except for having a different collaborator every track. It's the same
Same
collaborator on every single track.
And like the first 8 tracks, while I enjoy them, I don't think this is anything new for them either. I think while moments like Harmony Hall and Big Blue and Unbearably White are great, they don't really expand the band's sound into a futuristic struck. They're just solid compositions.
No, I feel like the American influence shows a lot more on those tracks specifically, as well as something like "Married in a Gold Rush," which I think is just kind of like, what's more American than the California Gold Rush?
Yeehaw!
Like just expanding out west, like that's what America's all about. So I think it's kind of silly, but definitely like I feel like the American influence is there. They're not using a lot of untraditional instruments, not traditional like American composition like they did in their last couple of albums. And I'm not sure that I like caught it when I first listened to their backlog, but here now that they've said we are taking out that more of an African influence and adding more of like an American influence, then it really showed, I felt like.
I don't know. I think another part of their career is not an African influence. It's more about Paul Simon Graceland influence.
That's a good record, and you cannot lie.
It is a good record, but also Vampire Weekend is heavily inspired by that like combination of American and like African microtones. So it's like not only is it Paul Simon, but it's also Talking Heads with Remain in Light and other acts of that nature. Even like more contemporaries, like if you want to see people who kind of do that today, like Angela Kidjo and Chicano Batman, both who are actually going on tour with Vampire Weekend, surprisingly.
That's exciting.
Kidjo's actually one of the openers for the Madison Square Garden show, so I'm really happy for her that she's getting that like
That'd be
prime time
awesome.
spot. But going over this, like starting off with Hold You Now, I don't know why Father of the Bride makes me think of Princess Bride, but it just keeps on popping up in my head. And the first track, if there was a bonus song to the Princess Bride soundtrack, that would be on there. But I think that collaboration between the two is nice.
Multiple years later.
And then Andre Giant comes in and is, I can't do a French accent. So that was my best Andre the Giant. But I think it really works and it's delicately laid out. I like how there's the chorus sample that pops up, and it's also kind of like spliced in a weird way in sections, and it's kind of filthy in moments. I really like that like diversity of the quality of the sound. Harmony Hall is a fantastic single, one of the best singles you'll hear all year. Such a catchy, melodic. The guitars, not only in this track but across the whole album, are very maestro-like playing.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. Bombia, I think it's when you get into the idea of that Vampire Weekend have kind of done a lot of these tracks before. It doesn't really establish anything new for them. While This Life is more Sweet Tooth, but I think it's the best example of something that's really Sweet Tooth on this record that really works with a cheating on me hook that kind of seems kind of forced, but I think it's undeniably catchy.
Yeah.
Big Blue is a single that I thought was going to be at the tail end of this album when it was on the other side of the Sunflower single. It feels like a closing track, and it doesn't feel built to. It's a really nice, like, compressed moment that's like has this like kind of moody atmosphere to it, but it doesn't feel like it's built to. It's just kind of thrown in there. Same thing with How Long. I think it's just kind of put there. And it's just, again, one of those tracks where I like it, but it's compositionally nothing new. They're not taking really any risks with the track and the layout. Unbearably Light, I really like it. It's probably the one where I think they have the most groovish kind of composition. I like how the bass is kind of laid out on the track. It kind of feels really flowing and nice. And I think it's the best lyricism on here on the album. And it kind of brings out that, like, indie, like, Wes Anderson film like angst that Vampire Weekend provides, and I think it feels very genuine to Urza. And then kind of around Rich Man, which I think is kind of the last decent track on here, is kind of when I lose steam after that. You get moments like Sympathy, which just come off as just like very just unwholesome and just bland. Sunflower Steve Lacy is stupid, fun. It has just dumbass scales that are being played that are it's just great. It's very playful. You can admit that it's dumb. I don't care. Like, I think this is one track where people are going to either really love it or really hate it. But I think Steve Lacy's performance on that is really nice. How he, like, him and Urza have that, like, nice...
Sort of just him scatting.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's a great little fun track. But Flower Mood is just annoying. That's just annoying. You have shitty pitching on it, and it just feels like an internet B-side. Like,
Yeah.
or like I'm listening to the Steve Lacy demo EP that he put out in 2017. Like, I don't feel like it compositionally just feels like it's built there. 2021's a nice little compressed emotional pit like Big Blue, but I just feel, again, it's not built to. It's just kind of forced in that spot. We Belong Together is just completely cheesy and annoying.
We Belong Together is cheesier than the end of Grease. Like, this is what reminds me of. I'm like, this is such an annoying song. It also reminds me of that Sugarland song, Stuck on You, if you ever listen to anything country.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, absolutely annoying and the cheesiest song on here. I couldn't get over it when I heard it.
And then Stranger Spring Snow in Jerusalem, New York, Berlin. I think they take a little bit of risk at times, and they're a little bit more kind of what I wanted, building up a kind of bit of emotion. But I'm just so burnt out at that point that I don't think the end just resonates with me. And I think while each of these songs are like 2.5 to 4 minutes, I just feel like they're just kind of filler, and they're just put there. In the end, I'm disappointed with this album. While nothing on here is truly terrible, I just feel like compositionally, you had like around like 20-30 minutes of like good material, and you could have just stopped after that.
I feel like Vampire Weekend fell victim to their own absence, where they were just like, we gotta fill this void of 6 years. We would have released something in 2016, but we didn't, and it would have been like half this length. But now they're just like, we have to put out all of our material at one time and really make the wait worth it. But I think the wait would have been well worth it if they'd only released half of this album and made it fine-tuned and made sure that the singles were going to work with everybody.
Yeah. Keeping in mind, also another thing I want to mention, that just the build-ups and just how the layout is across this whole entire thing is very messy, and that's another thing that kind of leads to the downfall. And again, how moments like Big Blue in 2021 are kind of built through, they're just kind of forced in those spots. But keeping in mind that all scores are kind of futile and meaningless. Right now, I think it's like a 6. Has really good songs on it, but it's just there's just so much on here that it kind of hinders the first half.
Yeah, I also think that just kind of a side note, the way that this album was released and kind of the slow burn release that we got, we've been getting singles since like February or January. Yeah, we've been getting singles for the first 5 months of this year, and that was like half the album right there. I probably should have been clued in that like all the singles, we pretty much got like 10 tracks released to us. Over half the album, I was like, okay, so they might have like 3 or 4 original tracks, but there were still 8 other tracks that weren't released as singles, and then I had to sit through when I actually got to the album. I think that the release of this was really weird, and in a way, I think also hindered my enjoyment of this.
I liked the release, but I think it just set it up for something that I wasn't going to reach.
That's what I'm saying. Is like Harmony Hall and 2021 were released together,
and they feel so perfectly blended.
Right. That's how I've been hearing it this whole time. Every month when they released a new duo pair of tracks, I listened to those tracks one right after the other, and then when I come to this, the whole album, and they're all like scattered all over the place. I'm not used to it. It sounds weird. It's not what I'm used to, you know?
Yeah.
So I think in a way like that did hinder it. I had some time to like sit on a lot of these singles. Harmony Hall, it sounds better than ever now within the context of the album, as well as Sunflower. I've gained a better appreciation for after like my first hearing. But this whole thing feels really scattered because of the way that the singles were released.
It's all because of Jerry Seinfeld.
Thanks, Jerry. This is Damn for a New Era.
I don't think it's Damn, because Damn, I think, for the most part, the tracks were good, except for like 2 moments.
It wasn't trying to tell a story either.
Yeah, whereas this is it's just so long. Like Damn, I don't think it was super long, as it's just the tracks were just all over the place.
I'm just talking about new like scattered layout.
Yeah.
The layout's really questionable. Overall, I think I'm also going to give this a 6. I enjoyed there are some really good tracks on here. I enjoyed quite a few of them.
Harmony Hall is one of the best singles of the year.
There are some where I'm
down.
just like, I can't even get behind this at all.
Yeah.
We Belong Together.
Mariah Carey. How dare you?
Mariah Carey's not Sugarland.
No, isn't that the song, Mariah Carey, We Belong Together? Didn't she make a song called that? Or is that someone else?
I don't No.
I don't. Okay, fuck it. Well, that's it.
Okay.
That's all I got to say on this review.